Good morning everyone. Today let us discuss acute suppurative otitis media. You know what is chronic suppurative otitis media, right? And its varieties like tubotympanic disease and attico-antral disease. Now let us see what is acute suppurative otitis media. Before that, I am Dr. Azmat, Assistant Professor, Department of ENT, CAMS-RC. So acute suppurative otitis media, the name itself, it tells the tale. It is an acute inflammation of the middle ear mucosa. To elaborate it is a acute suppurative, means there is a pus in the middle ear cleft. Okay, acute suppurative otitis media means middle ear involvement. So it is an acute inflammation of the middle ear by pyogenic organisms. Okay. And in other words, you can call it as acute suppurative otitis media is a suppurative infection of the mucosa of the middle ear cleft. Okay. So why you call it as acute, and the other day why you call it as chronic? Acute means the infection should be less than 3 weeks. So the ASOM is less than 3 weeks. The infection, whatever the duration is, less than 3 weeks. So what do you mean by middle ear cleft? Only middle ear mucosa? No. Middle ear cleft means the mucosa lining the eustachian tube, middle ear, attic, adytus and mastoid cells, which includes antrum also. Here adytus, antrum and attic, these three is called as key area. Along with that, middle ear mucosa, eustachian tube and mastoid cells. All these mastoid, the lining mucosa of the mastoid cells, these are all called as middle ear cleft. This middle ear cleft is filled with pus. So that is called as ASOM. Okay. So it is more common in infants and children, and obviously in low socio-economic group. So generally the disease follows the viral infection of the upper respiratory tract, and later on the pyogenic bacteria, whatever, they will invade. Generally it is followed by measles, diphtheria and a chronic infection of the sinuses, and sometimes nasal allergy also a predisposing factor. So what are the bacteriology? What are the bacteriology that are responsible for this? So first of all, this is very important MCQ question also. First of all, in young children and infants, it is by Streptococcus pneumoniae. It is more than 30% of cases. And Haemophilus influenza more than 20% cases, and Moraxella catarrhalis in 12% cases. And other organisms like Streptococci, means Streptococcus pyogenes, and Staph aureus and Pseudomonas accounts. Okay. Here one important point is most of the strains of Haemophilus influenza and Moraxella catarrhalis, they produce beta-lactamases. So that's why the routine antibiotics which you give, they won't work properly. Why? Because they produce beta-lactamases. Okay. So you have to give amoxicillin with clavulanic acid, which breaks the beta-lactamase. Okay. Right. So when it comes to routes of infection, the eustachian tube, again it is the main culprit. Okay. Here again children are more common. Why? I will tell you. In children and infants, The eustachian tube is short, wide and more horizontal and less stiff. This is again a MCQ. It is shorter, wider and more horizontal and less stiff. And the next point is a large adenoid which is located in the nasopharynx can interfere with the function of the eustachian tube. Okay. Due to horizontal position of the eustachian tube, the breast or bottle feed, whichever the infant had, the fluid may force into the middle ear and it may regurgitate into the middle ear. It may also one of the factors, and that's why they advise the mother to keep the infant in a propped up position. Okay, and swimming and diving also a little bit contributes, but very less. And in children, obviously the immune system is not fully developed, and it is also one reason. Here I told you now, the adult eustachian tube is angulated, but the infant or young children eustachian tube is always or nearly it is horizontal with the nose. So that's why whatever the fluids or whatever the breastfeeding, it may regurgitate into the middle ear, and it is wide also. The function of the eustachian tube, it won't develop fully. Right. What are the external factors? Why are the external acoustic mediators also? Sometimes the infection may go like associated with tympanic membrane perforations. For example, a trauma of the tympanic membrane where you can have a perforation. If you insert a tympanostomy tube, grommet, okay, where you can be having a complication like perforation. In tympanometry and myringotomy, you can have a non-healing perforation of the tympanic membrane which leads to the infection. Okay. See, I told you in earlier classes for CSOM, the infection may come and go on and off type of ear discharge. So it is acute exacerbation of the chronic suppurative otitis media. So on and off infections. Okay, on and off ASOMs may come in CSOM also. Again, very less uncommon route, that is bloodborne. Okay. So predisposing factors where it predisposes to ASOM is, one is the recurrent attacks of cold. I told you in earlier, and upper respiratory tract infections, and followed by a viral exanthematous fevers like measles, and infections of the adenoids and tonsils, means adenotonsillitis, which may interfere with the eustachian tubal function. Chronic rhinosinusitis, and in this chronic rhinosinusitis, whatever the material, bacteriological material, they may trickle to the backside, means into the posterior part of the nose. They may trickle and they cause infection to the eustachian tube. Okay, and again tumors of the nasopharynx and cleft palate, they may interfere with the functions of the eustachian tube, which leads to locking of the tube and formation of pus in the middle ear. Okay. So this is very, very important. So in exam, you should write these stages. If you don't write these stages and simply if you say ear pain, earache, ear discharge, nobody will give you marks. Okay. There are 4 important stages followed by another stage, complications. These are the 4 important stages you should remember. You should name it and you should explain it. Those are stage of tubal occlusion or congestion, stage of pre-suppuration, stage of suppuration, resolution, sometimes a stage of complication, not always. So let us see one by one. First stage of tubal occlusion. What happens in a stage of tubal occlusion? First, due to any predisposing factor like eustachian tube blockade or eustachian tube or eustachian tubal dysfunction or upper respiratory tract infection, rhinitis, rhinosinusitis, adenoids, tonsillitis, whatever the predisposing factors, there will be a mucosal congestion and mucosal edema. This edema leads to eustachian tube block. Okay, so it leads to absorption of the air, and there will be a negative intratympanic membrane. Intratympanic pressure means negative middle ear pressure. Okay, due to this negative middle ear pressure, there will be a formation of the effusion or fluid. Okay, and later on the tympanic membrane will be retracted. So these are the this is the pathophysiology for tubal occlusion. Means, in a simple word, the eustachian tube will be closed or will be locked due to edema and congestion of the mucosa. Later on, due to locking of the eustachian tube, there will be a negative middle ear pressure. Due to negative middle ear pressure, there will be the decreased middle ear pressure, which leads to decreased air and increased exudate, and due to this the tympanic membrane will be retracted. For this, what are the symptoms the patient may feel, or next, how you recognize, what are the signs you can elicit? See, the most important thing is the patient comes to you with earache and there is a fluid in the middle ear, that's why he will be having a conductive hearing loss, and due to disturbances in the middle ear conduction, you may be having a kind of ringing sensation in the ear, and children, they present with high grade fever. On examination, the tympanic membrane is retracted with the handle of malleus, and the handle of malleus will go in a horizontal position. Okay, and prominence of the lateral process of the malleus. Can you see here the prominence of lateral process? And there will be a loss of light reflex. Can you see any light reflex in the anterior inferior quadrant? Right? And there is a formation of a thin leash of blood vessels over the tympanic membrane, which gives a cartwheel appearance. So cartwheel appearance is seen in ASOM, CSOM, atrial disease and OME. This is very important MCQ. Cartwheel appearance in ASOM stage of congestion. If the scenario leads further, if the tubal occlusion is prolonged and the pyogenic organism may invade the middle ear cavity, which causes marked hyperemia of the middle ear mucosa, and again the inflammatory exudates will appear in the middle ear, and tympanic membrane is more markedly congested. And how a patient presents to you? Again, there is a marked, more painful ear, which may disturb the sleep, and the patient, he may feel it as throbbing nature of pain. And deafness and tinnitus are more, and obviously the child may have a high grade fever. And how you look the tympanic membrane means there is a marked congestion of pars tensa and more cartwheel appearance of the tympanic membrane, and the whole tympanic membrane will become red. Here, if you do a tuning fork test, the tuning fork test leads to a conductive type of hearing loss, and this stage leads to stage of suppuration. Okay, suppuration means the cavity, the tympanic cavity or cleft is fully filled with pus, and the tympanic membrane is tense and bulge. Okay, here the patient presents to you with the excruciating pain, ear pain, and hard of hearing is more, and he is having a high grade fever, sometimes with vomitings and febrile convulsions. Okay, here if you take a X-ray, you can see a clouding of the air cells due to fluid in the middle ear cleft. What are the signs you can find? The tympanic membrane here appears red and bulging, and there will be a loss of all the landmarks and protruding the tympanic membrane, and sometimes you can find a small yellow spot on the tympanic membrane. It means it is ready to rupture. Okay. Generally in pre-antibiotic era, the rupture and stage of complications are very common in those areas. With the advent of new antibiotics, you can stop the disease progression from here itself. Okay, right. Can you see a nipple-like projection of the tympanic membrane? Right. So all the signs are markedly, you can see, with the bulging of the tympanic membrane. So with this, the tympanic membrane ruptures and release of pus. This is stage of resolution. Resolution means everything goes, and with the release of pus, there will be a subsidence of the symptoms and inflammatory process begin to resolve. Body tries to seal up the inflammation. Okay. If you can start properly antibiotic before itself, all these symptoms may be mild. Okay. And after the rupture, pus, everything will be drained out, and initially the discharge will be blood stained followed by a clear pus. Okay, and then the hyperemia of the tympanic membrane and everything, the cartwheel appearance, everything will be settled, and the tympanic membrane will heal itself, and it will restore the normal landmarks later on. Right. If this stage further proceeds, means that is stage of complications. If the virulence of the organism is very high and the resistance of the host is very poor, then it leads to various complications like mastitis, all those we discussed right previously, all those complications. And see, can you see a clear margins? Okay, all these symptoms will be relieved. Can you see a clear margins where with the rupture of the tympanic membrane you can have a relief of the symptoms? So the complications will be a mastitis, intracranial and extracranial intratemporal complications, and facial nerve paralysis. Already we discussed this, I need not to go in detail, right? So treatment. See, most of the signs, most of the disease you can diagnose by clinical examination with otoscopic examination and tuning fork test. And the treatment consists of mainly antibiotics, nasal decongestants, oral decongestants, analgesics, oral toilet, dry local heat and myringotomy. Okay. The antibiotics, it arrests and reverses the inflammation. The role is it stops the inflammation there itself, and it sometimes may reverse also, and it prevents suppuration and perforation of the tympanic membrane. It cut down the resolution. Okay, it causes faster the resolution, means the children may improve very fast. If you have a pus in the middle ear and you have the pre-suppuration time is very more, then the child with the high grade fever, he might be having convulsions also, and sometimes septicemia also. So it causes, the antibiotics causes hasten the resolution, and it reduces its complications. Generally we give amoxicillin with clavulanic acid, Ampicillin nowadays we are not giving. Amoxicillin 40 mg per kg, and we give third generation cephalosporins also. I told you a few bacteria, they may have beta lactamases. To break it, you should add clavulanic acid. Okay, so the antibiotic treatment should be adequate, minimum at 10 days. Otherwise, again, he may go into a chronic suppurative otitis media. I told you in the etiology of CSOM, if you treat inadequately the ASOM, if you treat inadequately, he may goes into a chronic phase. Right. Local therapy before the perforation means a dry local heat which causes relieve earache and control the inflammation. And nasal decongestants, if you give a oxymetazoline, xylometazoline drops in the in the nose, it causes relief of the edema over the eustachian tube. Okay, and the same thing the oral nasal decongestants also will do. And analgesics and antipyretics are very important for control the fever. Myringotomy, you know very well, myringotomy is a surgical procedure in which a small incision is made in anterior inferior quadrant of the eardrum to relief of the pressure which is caused by the fluid or to drain the pus. Okay, after the myringotomy you should put a tympanostomy tube to keep the middle ear aerated for a prolonged time to prevent reaccumulation of the tube. Okay, till the eustachian tube takes its fully control. So where you do a myringotomy, like symptoms are not relieved by antibiotic. If you don't give a correct dose of antibiotic and correct choice, then you will be having problem. Where tympanic membrane bulges significantly, and with this high grade fever, children may have a febrile convulsions. To prevent it, you have to have reduced the fever. And where tympanic membrane is too small, the resolution is incomplete. And if you have a persistent effusion beyond 12 weeks, okay, you have to with the myringotum, ascus myringotum, you have to put a incision in the anterior inferior quadrant, and you should find and put the grommet. You know what are the different types of grommets? In earlier class I explained, right? So to prevent the further and further attacks of the ASOM, you should treat the associated causes like chronic rhinitis, rhinosinusitis, chronic tonsillitis and adenoids. For adenoids, you should do a adenoidectomy. Chronic tonsillitis, you should do a tonsillectomy. Generally in children we do a adenotonsillectomy together. And for chronic sinusitis, we do a FES, functional endoscopic sinus surgery. Generally, previously you called it as rhinitis and sinusitis differently, but now the term rhinosinusitis is more accurate term. So rhinosinusitis you treat by FS. That's it. It's a very simple topic, and you should not lose the marks if you have a essay question. Okay, so you should write all 4 plus 1 stage of complication, all 4 stages. Treatment mainly by a antibiotic, conservative method, not a surgery. If you want to do a surgery, that is myringotomy, you have a specific indications, you should know. And the ultimate culprit is eustachian tube. Okay, so this is about ASOM. Thank you very much.